Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
So the next aspect that we are going to talk about is the status sets. Now, what are status sets? An individual is a member of several groups. It is not just as an individual you are a member of only one group. You play different roles. Like you are a student, you are a son or a daughter, you are a brother or a sister, you are a grandchild, you are a friend as well. You might be a head boy or a head girl as well. You might be some of the sports captains. So as an individual, you play different roles. You play different roles which has because of these different statuses that you own or different statuses that you play or you have different roles in the society. So the individual has different positions and status because you are a part of the different or you are a part of several groups. For example, they have taken individual is husband or father, husband and father, a professor and a member of a club. So talking about your parents are son or daughters as well of their parents. They are husband wives. Then they are your parents, like your father or your mother. Then they must be involved in some of the other occupation, so they are a part of that particular group. They might be having some kind of status in the neighborhood, so they are a part of that particular club as well. They might be good at some sports, so they are a part of that club as well. So that one particular individual, that one particular entity is playing so many different roles. And because you are playing so many different roles, the totality of the statuses of an individual makes and it defines a status set. So you are an individual, you have different notions, different sets, different roles, different responsibilities, different ways of looking at things, owing to the different membership or the owing to the different statuses and the positions you have because of being a member of several groups. That is what terms or that is what comes out to be the status sets. Though an individual has several statuses, he is known in the society by the most important or the dominant status. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi is not someone who is majorly and majoritarily. I'm not talking about it, they're not talked about or they're not known in any of these particular scenarios, but majorly and majoritarily herein they define out that they are known by the most important or the most dominant statuses. That means they are termed as or they are talked about as the most important statuses that they belong to. Here in this case that I took an example, the Prime Minister. If you are a CEO and if you are in the global sphere, if your company is there and you are well known in that particular sphere, you would be seen and you would be known by that status of the CEO and not really as a husband or a daughter or a mother or a father. So the dominant status of an individual is his or her master status. Out of that status sets which is there, whatever your dominant status is, it is known as your master status. Something that you are, that's something that is most important or something that is the most dominant one here. Therein they have taken an example. One of the professors in the college has the status of a professor in the as a master status. So because you are a professor, because you have that master status or the dominant status of being a professor, that becomes your master status and that is how you get or you are known as in the majority of the society. So some statuses are ranked high in the society and enjoy prestige and respect. There are some statuses, majoritarily there are different statuses, you may talk about some high government post, you may talk about being the principal of the school in your particular scenario, you may talk about being a CEO or a director, you may talk about the political posts that are there. So there are some statuses that have been ranked high in the society, and because of their high ranks they enjoy the respect and the prestige. An individual holding a status of prestige enjoys more or less esteem or respect depending on the performance. So the kind of performance that the political leaders give us, the kind of performance or the kind of responsibilities that they kind of that they that they have, or that they have, and they show in respect to us, with respect to us, is something that becomes that makes us give them respect, that makes us give them that esteem. However, on the other hand, there are situations wherein you do have that particular status, you do have that particular rank, but because of your actions, because of how you have been going about in the process, because of your roles, and because of the way you have been acting in certain scenarios, the status or the prestige may lower down, or the esteem may lower down as well. So this is a very, very important aspect of the status, as and when we have, as and how we have discussed in here. Moving on to the second aspect is the social roles. Now, what are social roles? So, behavior expected of an individual who holds certain status. Behavior expected, the behavior expected from you as a student, the behavior expected from me as a teacher, the behavior respected from your parents as being the parents. All of these are, this is all the social statuses which are there. Now the kind of behavior it is expected from you is it becomes the part of the social roles. So it is very easy for us to understand from the term itself the kind of role that you have to perform owing to the status that you hold in the society is what is defined as the social role. It is one of the dynamic aspect of status. It may keep on changing very dynamically. You are present in the school as a student, your social roles will be something else. You go home after completing your 8 or 6 hours of study, and your social roles being expected from you as a son or a daughter will be something else. So it is dynamic aspect of nature. It is very much, pretty much changing. Student, as in when you are in grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when you reach your grade 11 and 12, the social roles that are expected out of you, the behavior that is expected out of you changes, and that is what makes it a dynamic aspect of status. Sometimes an individual holding a status has several roles, and the combination of all of it is known as the role set. Like I was talking about, when you reach home, it is not that you leave the entity of being a student altogether. You get your home assignments, you do have to finish your home assignments, you do see, or you go back and revise what all was being done in this class. So that it has again a social aspect or a social role of being a student involved. That is what, wherein you have an amalgamation, or wherein you have a group, or wherein you as an individual are holding a lot of several statuses, and you are performing as per those in form of the roles that you have. The combination of all of those is known as the role set. So that is what I have described you, or I have made you understand, taking an example of you all only. how you are students as well, how you people are daughters and sons as well, how you people are even friends, how you people have, even if you have that, if you have pets at home, then how are you people the caretakers. So all of these aspects, all of these roles when are combined together makes it a role set. So role set is an array of or the collection of different roles attached to one's status. It is a collection of different roles, like we have discussed. It is a collection of different social roles that are there and combined in together. Now, usually they say an individual has several statuses and therefore he has several roles. We have discussed it right now that yes, as in all of these individuals, majority of these individuals, us individuals rather, we do have several social statuses and hence we do have several roles. This is what is known as multiple roles. Like discussed, son or daughter, you are playing as an individual multiple roles. We as teachers also may have the role of parents. We do have the role of son and daughters. We do have the role of friends here. We do have the role of caretakers here for our pets, for our family members. So all of these things combined together, because it is only an individual who is performing all of these roles. So all of these roles combined in together comes with a term known as multiple roles. Now, multiple roles exactly are the roles of an individual who performs different roles because he has different statuses. I would be different the way I react, or I would be different the way I talk to people around me when I'm a teacher. I would be different in a way when I am in a family setup. Even if I'm meeting the same set of people, even if I'm meeting the same set of people at a wedding or a birthday party, I will be different because I will be having different social roles, because I will be in a different social status. So that is what makes and you understand the multiple roles. Imagine you meeting one of your teachers in a wedding. Now, when you meet one of your teachers, any of your teachers in a wedding, your behavior would be a little different. Your behavior would be not that formal. Your behavior would not be that, not that direct with her, because you are in a different social status. You have a different social status out there, and because of which you would have a different social role to perform. Sometimes people find it difficult to meet the demand associated with a role. At times we do feel it difficult. At times, as a son, I might not be, or as a daughter, I might not be able to perform all the social roles. As a student, you might face a lot of difficulties in performing all the social roles. When the conflicting demands are made into a role, the person performing the role may undergo role strain. When you have some challenge wherein your role A demands something else and wherein your role B demands something else, and you are confused of which one to satisfy, is when you come under, or when you face the situation of role strain. A very important example is the Sarpanch of the village. Very easy to understand. What if there is a case against your own family member? What if there is a case against your own son or your own daughter? How would you be responding? Whether you will be performing your duties as a sarpanch and performing those roles of you being the sarpanch, or your roles of being the family member or the father or the mother. There is when the role strains take into account. That is basically the situation what is known as the role strain, wherein you are in that dilemma of which role should you be performing, because you hold both of those statuses. Because of those two statuses, you do hold both of those roles and you are responsible to perform both of those roles. And when you are unable to decide, or rather you are unable to prioritize which one should be given importance and which one should you be performing, and it has a lot to do with your morals as well, with your way of thinking as well, with who is there in front of you as well. And that is how, and that is when the role or strain comes into an account. Imagine you as a student going to a class wherein your friend tells you, okay, let's bunk this class, or let's not attend this lecture, and you have that role strain because you are a student as well. You are a student who, as a part of the social role, has to attend that class, but herein you are a friend as well, who cannot or who does not want to disappoint your friend, and be a part of what he is saying. That is when your role strains come into account, and that is what the situation of the role strain is. Moving on, the demands from these sets of people are in direct conflict, whether to attend the class or not to attend the class, a direct conflict. Sometimes there can be conflicting demands from different roles as well, and hence a role conflict is the situation when the fulfillment of one role may lead to the violation of the other one. Fulfillment of the role of being a student and attending the class might lead to the violation of your role of a friend who has to be there with the friend morally, in all the things that they want to be a part of. If you talk about in a very idealistic scenario, or for that example, the role of sarpanch, and in case they are not helping as a family member, as a father or the son, they got to be protecting their children from all the possible things that they can. And herein it is one of the major aspects that they are the ones who have to take the decision. So what on how will they be justifying, or how will they be coming out of this role conflict and facing this particular scenario or situation of role conflict, is what role conflict means. When you are, because you do have to take one route, either you're going there here or you're going there, either you are taking care of the responsibilities of the sarpanch, or you are taking care of the responsibilities of being a father or a mother. So because if you take this direction, you are ignoring this one. So you are not really taking up, or you're not really fulfilling the roles required by this particular status that you hold, and this is where role conflict takes place. Moving ahead, talking about another aspect, another social aspect, is the social norms. Now, what are social norms? First time used by M. Sheriff. This was the first time word used by M. Sheriff. It is said, or it was being said, it is used in his book, The Psychology of Social Norms, wherein norms are rules or standards of behavior which are accepted and shared by the people. I have used this term a lot of time. There are set norms, there are set aspects, there are set ideas. So norms are something that is accepted, the kind of behavior, the kind of rules, the kind of standards that are accepted by the society, that are accepted and shared by everyone, by people in the society, is known as the social norms. So norms can very easily hence be described as the shared standards of desirable behavior which people follow while interacting with others. How are you supposed to interact as a child? How are you supposed to interact as a son or a daughter? How are you supposed to interact with your children as parents? So there are set social norms. How am I supposed to interact with you all as a teacher? So the acceptable form or the shared standards, as a teacher there is a shared standard that we all have to follow. It is not again a rule book. It is something which is there within us that we tend to follow because it is the most apt and the acceptable way or the desirable behavior from our post. So while you're having this kind of interaction from with among those social groups or among those social statuses and roles, and what your desired behavior should be or your desire or your set standard should be is known as social norms. Now there are majorly two types of social norms. One is the prescriptive social norm or the prescriptive norm. That means prescriptive norms prescribe or require a certain type of behavior. So these do require a certain type of behavior. For example, driving a car on the left side of the road in India is a prescriptive norm. You are given a prescription. You are given a very well detailed reasoning, and you are being told, you are required to do that particular action, or you're required to follow that particular behavior, and that is what is known as the prescriptive norm. However, the other one is the proscriptive norm. The proscriptive norms means the norms forbid certain types of behavior. So at times you are forbidden, you are being, you are being left away for, or you are being punished away for certain types of behavior. So here forbid means punishment, wherein certain type of behavior is not acceptable. That particular behavior is something that will invite punishment for you. For example, prohibition of jumping a red light is a proscriptive norm. So when you jump a red light, wherein it is prescriptive norm, it is being told that you are not supposed to jump a red light because it is one of the prescriptive norms, and you are being required, you are being asked to perform that particular behavior. But hence you choose, or hence by mistake, even if you are jumping the red light, it comes under a punishable offense and becomes a part of the proscriptive norm. So these are the two types of norms which are there and are described in these are the two types of norms under one description. The other description that are the social norms described as are the folkways or the mores. It is being described by William Graham. He has described two types of norms. Now, talking about what are folkways, it is introduced by, like I said, William Graham in the book Folkways in 1906. Now, the word means the ways of the folk. That means the folklores that you hear, the kind of references. Folk means it refers to the people. So the way that you have of the people around you are described or are discussed in the folkways. It is approved standards of behavior. Please underline and understand this. It is approved standards of behavior passed on from one generation to the next. So Whatever is being passed on from one generation to the next and is approved. Your society approves of that particular behavior is known as the folkways. You must have heard about this term called folklores. It is basically having the stories wherein we are talking about what was happening in the previous past, or what was happening in the past, and you want those things, or you want those folk tales also to be there with your present generation as well. So you are sharing it, you are kind of preserving it for your next generation as well. So here also folkways are the approved standard of behavior passed on from one generation to another. These are behavioral patterns of everyday life which generally arise unconsciously in a group. It is something that a person keeps on seeing. It is something which is unconsciously that gets absorbed in our mind, that gets absorbed in our habits, that gets absorbed in ourselves, and we tend to follow it from generations after generations. For example, the ways of eating, talking, dressing, playing, walking, working, etc. All of these have certain set approved standards. The way you eat, the way you are supposed to eat in your particular group, in your particular society, in your particular in your particular society, under your particular societal norms. All of those become a part of the folkways here. Talking about the next aspect where they're talking about the mores, so norms that cover moral and ethical behavior, more crucial to social order than those covered by the folkways. It is the moral and the ethical behavior majorly which becomes a part of these set social norms. These are more strictly enforced, more powerful than folkways. Examples are the obligation to help the relatives, to show respect to teachers, etc. Now, all of these things become a part of your mores, as in your morals, as in the ethical part of your behavior that you have to practice under the social norms. One was certain actions, one was the folkways was certain actions that are approved, certain kind of behavior that are approved. However, mores are certain moral and ethical behavior that becomes crucial to maintain the social order in the society. These are the two ways of defining or distinguishing rather, or the two different ways of having social norms. One was the prescriptive and the proscriptive social norm, and the other one being the folkways and the mores. So these are the two ways or bases of distinguishing between of having different social norms. Moving on next to customs. What are customs? You must have heard this term a lot of times when your families are also talking, okay, this is our custom, we have to follow it. So, it is the socially accepted way of in which people do things together in personal contact. Why is it done? It is done to preserve our culture and transmit it to the next generation. One, it is done to preserve our culture, and second, it is done to transmit it. For example, accepted procedures or practices of eating, meeting people, playing, working, our religious customs, all of these aspects will come under this category. So basically, Basically, all of these which are accepted, which are socially accepted and have been practiced from various generations and are planned to be transmitted to the next generations as well, is what makes the customs. Moving ahead, norms vary according to the situation. Now, how? For example, individual behaves in one way at home and in the other way in the college. Like I said, it is again a dynamic way or a dynamic aspect of norms wherein it varies, it changes according to the situation. You might be in a different sphere while you are at home, and you might be in a very different sphere and in a under and observing different norms while you are in college. Also, norms may vary from group to group and from society to society because it is something that is socially accepted. Imagine some norms being followed or some customs being followed of let's say Ukraine or in India. It is not something that will be socially accepted. That it makes it varying from place to place and from groups to groups. Also, norms govern or regulate all social activities and even expression of emotions. So, all the social activities are regulated and the expression of emotions are regulated under these norms. The members of a society or a group observe norms spontaneously or automatically without questioning them. It is something that becomes a part of you. The way you eat, the way you walk, the way you talk, all of these things becomes a part of you, and that is why you are able to spontaneously accept it, automatically react to it in the way you are expected to react without questioning about anything. So, this is all what is there about these social norms. Coming to the last aspect of social structure is the social values. Now, you would see all of these things are related itself. You know, whether you talk about social status, you talk about social roles, you talk about social norms, or you now that you talk about social values, all of these are interconnected and all of these are related. Now, talking about what are social values. Shared ideas, again, shared ideas about what is right or wrong, bad or good, desirable and undesirable. It is in a way collectively talking about ideas, it is in a way collectively talking about values. What values should be acceptable, what values should not be acceptable, what values should be considered as good, what values should not be considered as good, is what makes the aspect of social values. Justice, honesty, truthfulness are considered good and desirable, while violence and cheating are considered bad and undesirable. This is something that is there in majority of the in majority of the societies in general, and it is being shared by a lot of societies. Such ideas are shared by members of the group society, considered as general standards of behavior. We know in India, for a matter of fact, if we just talk about the society within India, it is all that justice, honesty, and truthfulness are considered desirable, and cheating and violence are considered as things which are not really desirable. So that are those are again the shared ideas, the shared entities, and are general standards of behavior in the society. So values define social preference, specify societal choice, and provide a vision of future action. So, values basically define the social preference. What kind of a social preference are you going towards? Whether you want to be an acceptable individual, a desire by doing all the desirable actions, or the kind of social preference that you do not wish or you want to be a rebel. So that is how it is being described and under the social preference. Specifies the societal choice. What kind of a society? Because it is a shared idea. What kind of a society are you going towards? Are you going towards a society which is just and which is true to everyone around them? Or you're going towards a society which is practicing cheating and violence? Moving on, individuals' values are strongly influenced by their specific culture, obviously, because it is a shared entity. It is something that we observe and then take up from the society. That is what makes it. A culture specific entity. So the social structure, social institutions, as well as social interaction and behavior are all based upon values. How you interact, how there is, if there is any social structure or if there's any social institution, if there is any social hierarchy in your society, all of these things depend upon the social values. Any changes in the social structure or the social institution will generally follow by a change in the social value and vice versa. Okay, let's talk about a classroom setup. When you talk about a classroom setup and we have our values of paying attention and being true to the of truth and non-violence, that is how our social structure of the classroom will be, or the social institution of our classroom will be. If there is alteration or if there are some changes in the classroom, like in the members of the classroom, in the group of the students, which may not be having the same kind of a social value, and they influence others also not to have that particular kind of a social value, that is when it becomes a part of, that is when it may alter the social value of the classroom as well. Or on the other hand, if social values of the classroom are altered because of some or the other reason, that might alter or that might change the social structure or the social hierarchy of the classroom setup as well. You might have some of these people, some of these students who have this dominant nature, and some of them who are a little submissive. So, if the majorly and generally we have talked about that the ideas of the dominant people are being taken into consideration, and the social values related to them only will be given importance in this particular scenario. What if we see a shift? Someone from the submissive group comes up and tries and alter the values, and that is how this whole social structure or this whole aspect of social values work. Social values have evolved from tradition to the modern societies. So you have these social values coming up from the traditional to the modern societies, wherein you do have this aspect of passing on or transmitting these things or these values from generation after generations. One subject that you might be having in your classroom, in your classes or in your school for a very long period of time is moral values, because the society accepts certain values and those values, and as a part of these moral values, those values are being tried to be transmitted within all of you. Talking about, or moving to the importance of values, it provides a stability in the group interaction. If you and me are a part of the society, and if we have same social values, that is what will make the interaction smoother and stable. If you have a group of friends, and in that all group of friends there's one or two of them who do not practice non-violence and are violent individuals, that will obviously be a problematic situation for the group interactions. And that is why having or sharing of the common social value is important. It holds the society together and shared in common. Like I said, it is there when a group has someone violent, it creates problems, and in a way you want to move out of that group because your social values do not are not taken care of there, or are not justified in that particular group. But if there is all of you people having similar social values and practicing non-violence, for example, then it will help all of you holding together, all of the society being held together. Since they are shared, the members of the group are likely to see each other as people like themselves. I see my replica in you because I and me share this values, share this system. So I see as the individual that I will be, all the things that will be going in my mind related to the social values will be similar to in yours, because we share the social values being present, or share the social entities that are there. Also, it brings legitimacy to the rules that govern specific activities. It brings values, it brings kind of a strength to the groups, that to the values or to the rules that govern the specific activities. For example, punishing someone for lying, or for being or for being violent. There in the school you have set rules that you cannot get involved in violence. Someone who is getting violent, and if you are not being punished for it, will not give any legitimacy, or will not give any strength to the rule that is being built up around it. That is why the rules are accepted and followed, because they embody the values. They make those values, they combine all of those values together. Now, it helps also to bring about some kind of adjustments between different sets of rules. You do have certain set of rules which may be related to the behavior of the child, out of which there would be one as violence. But herein, if we talk about the different sets of rules and different adjustments that the people have to do, it brings out a very well set up for adjustments between different sets of rules which are being present there. They've taken an example here. For example, if people in India cherish the value of equality, then they will have to modify the rules governing interpersonal relationships and between the castes. If you come from the sphere who value equality, then there is no place for caste based violence. There is no place for caste hierarchy. And if you come from this value of equality as a society, you will definitely take action to modify the rules that are governing the interpersonal relationships between the caste groups as well, which has been done in our country a lot of times, and our constitution is a witness to that. Another example is society may cherish the value of privacy, a very general behavior. Okay, we want privacy. Norms define how the value of privacy is translated into action. So your value of privacy is there, that okay, we value privacy of everyone. Norms are the ones, or the rules here are the ones which define what actions should be taken to value the privacy or to validate the value of privacy. One of this example is not opening the personal letters of the people. Another example you might talk about is when the system of Aadhaar cards came into the scenario. People started to question this action because of the value that they had of privacy. Obviously it was being ruled out because the perceptions was something different that those people had perceived. However, the intent behind this was something very different from our government. So this is what is action which had the value of privacy as in a general behavior involved. All of this till now we have talked about, summarizes and talks about what all aspects of social structure are there, what all elements of social structure are there. We talked about social status, we talked about social roles, we talked about social norms, and now we talked about social values. All of these are the elements of social structure.